Wanna play some football?
Yeah, sure.
Good. You could be the field.
I played video games in a drunken haze. I was 17 years young.
At its roots, Angus is a simple story of the big kid and his struggles. Bullied for his weight since childhood, Angus remains fairly positive about what life has to offer him. There's some really cool scenes that open the movie up where we see him at different ages while he narrates his earliest memories for us. His main issue is one kid, Rick Sanford, who has tormented him since kindergarten.
Hey Angus, want to play pintail on donkey? You could be a donkey. Whoa!
You'd think this kid would learn after a couple of broken noses, but nope.
Wanna play some football?
Yeah, sure.
You could be the field.
He meets his best friend Troy around middle school, how else, defending him from Rick. And Angus also introduces us to the girl he loves.
Melissa Lefevre was that girl that just made you ache.
Honestly, that's a lot of exposition to try to shove into the first few moments of a movie, but they did it really well. Through good narration, funny jokes, good editing and pacing, it works really well, and it just never feels rushed. Even when at the 3-minute mark, we're suddenly in the current day with Angus, Troy, and Rick, all members of the football team. Here, the movie wonderfully transcends into its credits from the previous scene, and I just love how well it works. I don't even want to skip the credits like I do in a lot of movies these days. Continuing where we left off, we're in the middle of the game, and Angus continues to narrate his life to us while being distracted from the game by Melissa.
Come on, Huskies, let's
Play again. Mike.
You just know who she's dating too, don't you? Now on the field, it must suck to be in this position. Blocking for the guy you hate who is dating the chick you love. The ball gets intercepted. Yeah, Little Giants taught me a thing or two about football terminology. Imagine how shitty it would feel that after you manage to stop the quarterback, causing him to fumble, the ball lands in Rick Sanford's hands. You just lie there in agony as he runs the ball down the field past you, scoring the touchdown and winning everyone's favor. Man, I'd hate that kid too if he wasn't played by James Vanderbeek. You gotta hand it to the movie. It's barely 10 minutes in, and it is so perfectly captured the disdain he feels for this all-star kid who has been nothing but an ass to him since childhood. 10 minutes in, and I can't wait to see him break his nose again, even if it is James Vanderbeek. When school resumes, Angus is in front of the class presenting his science experiment, and he's revealed to be an incredibly bright student.
I'm trying to prove that if you put a small abnormal element in a large homogeneous system, the system will reject the deviation rather than mutate.
His project not only has scientific merit, but it parallels his own identity and place in the school and social hierarchy.
Great work, Einstein.
Rick, great touchdown yesterday.
Thanks.
It's proven even further that he's smart when after class, the principal informs him his application to Jefferson, a magnet school, has been accepted.
If you don't go, I won't have to worry about losing our best JV tackle, Angus.
You know, I can see why Angus wants to leave this school, not just because of Rick, but how everyone just kind of looks at him like all he is some fat football jock, when really he's pretty smart. We meet Angus's mother when he shares his good news with her, and also his grandfather, whom Angus really looks up to.
When he was awake.
Awake, damn it!
And as the small family have dinner, their dialogue is what sells the scene so well. Discussing the catering of an upcoming wedding, we're shown how they get along with one another, the jokes they make at each other's expense,
He snores. Big nose hair snores.
as well as get filled in on a bit of extended family. What's really clever is they don't reveal until near the end of the conversation who the wedding's actually for.
Why is she talking to me like I'm not in the room?
It's the little things like that.
Who gets married at 72?
They could have just told us right away, but instead they let us discover it, and I miss that about a lot of movies. Back at school, as Troy and Angus eat lunch,
I'm swallowing snot.
Rick and Melissa become his distraction as usual, much to Rick's delight, and Troy is worried about losing his only real friend to another school.
Stick with me. I know these things.
You play the accordion.
And on their way through the halls, they are each handed a flyer for the school's upcoming dance when Troy gets a great idea.
You know what'd be funny? If we went to the dance.
He also overhears Green Day on the radio and rushes to get to a phone to be the first caller in an attempt to win tickets to their concert, but he runs into Rick and his goons on the way. Yeah, break his nose. Ah, dang.
You got a temper. Save it for the football field.
But he...
Save it, Angus. One suspension, you lose your shot. And I will suspend you, Angus.
Damn, do I feel for this kid. How many teen movies have there been where one kid was the target of bullying because he was fat or poor or whatever, but they never gave you much fuel behind it? This was lighting a fire up under my ass. We're only 18 minutes in. Discovering the flyer that Troy threw to the ground moments earlier, it looks like Rick has an idea. Now, sometime after school, Angus is spending some time with his grandfather at the park while he plays chess with a friend, and the genuine writing continues as Grandpa is, through tough love, encouraging Angus to make his move on Melissa before he regrets it.
Wasn't easy for me to ask April out. You know why I did it?
Because you're old and senile?
Because I said screw.
And as they argue back and forth, it's a really good scene. It really feels like a believable grandfather and grandson relationship.
You don't talk to Melissa Lefevre when you're the fat kid who's good at science.
You're not the fat kid who's good at football?
The next day at school, as the kids sit through one of those things in the auditorium that got you out of class. Man, I've been out of school so long, I can't even remember what the hell they're called. Like assemblies or something? I don't know. Just don't worry about how dumb I am and watch this funny scene instead.
I need love.
I'm getting a boner.
Now, after the skit ends, class president, Rick Sanford, of course he's that too, handsome football guy's not enough. He hops on stage to announce the winners of the king and queen of the freshman winter ball. Queen, Melissa, of course. King, Angus, of course.
All right!
Now, I do wish that Rick hadn't spelled it out so clearly in the previous scene.
I think we know who the king of the winter ball is this year, don't we?
Hey, it's not in the bag, but I think I got the votes I wanted.
Having him glance at the paper and look up was just enough, and perhaps not having that at all would have made it a much better reveal. Imagine we never see Rick pick up this flyer. Imagine all we saw earlier was that chick who said,
"Don't forget to vote for the winter ball dance, king and queen. Remember, your vote counts."
And then suddenly we get to this scene.
Holy shit!
It's about how I would have felt, Troy. It just kind of sucks that you know what's coming. You don't really get to sit there with genuine anticipation. You're just kind of waiting for the moment to come. Now, as expected, the room is in disbelief, with only the principal attempting to generate even a bit of applause, while Troy, having bolted out of the auditorium, pulls the fire alarm. Afterwards in the halls, the two are arguing over Angus actually going to the ball or not when Melissa appears down the hall. Okay, Angus, this is your big chance. Do not blow this in an over-the-top 1990s fashion. And you blew it in an over-the-top 1990s fashion. More of Angus's narration carries the movie as he reflects on what he imagines people must think of him, especially Melissa, and through his thoughts we find out he's actually considering going to the winter ball. Later, Troy continues encouraging Angus with a slideshow highlighting all the reasons he should go.
Tiny blonde hairs on long, athletic thighs.
Not only that, but he has a plan to make this work.
We're gonna turn you from a large, pathetic virgin into a large, pathetic virgin with a new look.
Now, sometime later at home, we see the Shermanator cannot cut hair as Angus wakes his grandfather up in his trademark way, and he gets some more advice from his only real fatherly influence.
Use what you have in here.
Like most kids, fat or not, he's nervous about actually dancing in front of the other kids, but no worries, Grandpa has everything under control.
I ever tell you about the Irish swoon?
With the expected comedic gags of the time, he fails at dancing class, basically.
You're dancing, man.
Most of this movie takes such care with its serious moments, and it is supposed to be a comedy, not a damn drama, so after that little bit of comic relief, I can't complain as the antics continue with Angus trying on tuxedos for the big day.
I have one other thing in his size, but it isn't black. This should fit.
Put it in the dressing room.
Put it on a rack.
Now back at Troy's, the dance lessons continue with Wanda. Okay then. And Troy starts filming the moment so that Angus can analyze the tape and see where he made mistakes. That's a really good idea and one that I'm sure won't backfire in any meaningful way.
Look under her shirt. Hey, she's anatomically correct.
Man, I'm getting some serious Bobby Hill vibes here. As Troy goes even more weirdo here, on camera, Angus reveals what he loves about Melissa so much.
I get the worst pain in my stomach whenever I see her.
You get a boner in your stomach?
And then Angus goes weirdo too.
Can I take her home?
A nice little montage ensues here where Angus continues to learn how to dance, works out with Troy's help, lifts weights, continues his scientific studies, and... Wait a damn minute, where did he get that black tux at then? The montage ends with a hilarious moment that just makes Angus and me hate Rick even more. Even if it is James Vanderbeek.
Green Day concert for Rick Sanford.
God damn it!
I was just walking by a phone booth and I heard the song come over this guy's car radio. Hey, I just got my quarter back.
God damn it. Now, while Troy is getting bullied in the halls, a boom mic drops down from above for a second, distracting me from the scene. I think he talked some smack in Angus's defense, basically.
When Angus dances with Melissa, she's never gonna look back.
I kinda like this scene. He's implanted doubt into the jocks' minds, and for a moment here, they seem genuinely afraid that he might have some moves.
Hey, what are you doing? Let me go! Come on!
Thanks for the tip.
A bit later in the locker room, a confrontation ensues between Angus and Rick over his missing shirt. Troy, feeling brave with Angus around, talks some trash, and Rick, knowing that Angus's new school scholarship is on the line, pushes his buttons.
Hey, what are you doing? Let me go!
He even implants doubts into Angus's mind about how Melissa feels about this.
Melissa's bitching my ear out because she's gonna dance with you. Hey, nothing personal.
Finding not only his shirt missing, his underwear is gone too. And when they discover where it ended up, there's really only one thing you can do in a situation like this.
I suggest you stand at attention, click your heels, and salute your shorts.
An overly dramatic moment ensues next when Melissa comes out and Angus looks up at his underwear on the flagpole and sees it as he imagines she would see it. That's great. He's spared humiliation when she walks by and doesn't notice, but when someone calls her name aloud, she turns around just as his underwear is being removed from the flagpole and gets a
slice of the old thick pie.
Jesus, Troy! What the fuck is wrong with you? Now, long after school is ended, Angus finally leaves his hiding spot, feeling utterly humiliated, while behind him, Troy is quietly kidnapped by Rick's goons.
We really want to play a little joke on Angus, but we're kind of stumped on what it should be.
Now, to his credit, Troy refuses to help them at first. And he fights back even, which leads to a terribly sad moment that I hated as a kid. God, I felt so bad for him when he cried out like that.
See, tough guy.
God damn it, Rick. Even if you are played by James Vanderbeek.
This is important, you understand?
Alright, that crossed the line, damn it. Now, as Angus continues to take care of his grandfather, his frustration with everything steadily rises.
What is your problem?
Rick Sanford.
You break that kid's nose again?
I'm thinking about it.
He unloads a lot of his feelings, and his grandfather relates to what he's saying, as that's what most people are saying about his upcoming marriage to a younger woman.
She's too young? I'm too old? Screw him!
Angus continues his studies while his mom and grandfather argue back and forth over the dance, his mom recognizing that it's all a prank to embarrass him, and his grandfather who wants him to instead own the moment and turn it against them.
You're not giving the boy credit for being strong.
It's a pretty good angle, honestly, and it makes the time we spent with them earlier over dinner all the more worthwhile because we can understand everyone's point of view fairly and equally. Mom might have the best point of all, though.
And he goes back there every single day. So don't you tell me I don't know how strong my son is. And if he wants to go to any goddamn school where the kids won't slap their bellies every time he walks by, then he damn well can.
Takes after her dad, it seems. Meanwhile, Angus Bobby Hill continues to practice his moves with Wanda when his mom, just like Peggy,
Bobby! Mom!
discovers him, and her reaction is a lot more calm, at least.
Is this a friend?
She's all about business and starts talking to him about his upcoming school interview, but with Angus struggling with his social life more at this point, he's having real trouble relating to his overly supportive mother.
Häagen-Dazs.
Alright, ice cream can win anyone over.
Why don't you bring your little friend?
Now, in the next scene, over a darkening sky and setting sun, we find Troy handing over something to the bullies. You know what it is, and you know why it was shot this way. The next day, the wedding is full on with people everywhere, and after Angus has a small moment with his grandfather's soon-to-be wife...
I sent a schedule for Grandpa's pills.
12 and 5.
1 and 4.
Oh.
He lets Grandpa know that she's ready, and his excitement is through the roof. The two make amends as Angus realizes how happy she must make him, and he even apologizes about his actions.
Grandpa was a jerk. I'm glad you're marrying April.
The heartwarming moments continue with more support from his grandfather, and Angus gives a pretty emotional speech here about Melissa and how he recognizes that while after the dance things might not be any different, his grandpa's right about this. He's got to take the chance.
You can't be brave if you're indestructible.
Life's about risks. Sometimes you just gotta go for it. Now, after pouring his heart out, does Grandpa have some sort of words of wisdom for us?
Just want my moment.
Ah, he just fell asleep. Oh, Grandpa. Silly old Grandpa.
Grandpa?
Silly old Grandpa? God damn, that hurt, movie. It hurt then and it hurts now. So Angus delivers the news to his grandpa's chest, buddy.
Feel like I'm sinking down.
And later, Troy shows up at the park to find Angus alone, sitting at the table, and lies to him about what happened to his arm in an effort to cover up his betrayal.
Fell off my bike.
Not cool. Now, after his grandfather's death, Angus is now seemingly only interested in his application to Jefferson. To hell with all this dance shit. And he and Troy begin to butt heads, as while still grieving, Troy and his absent-minded self, even though he means well, is just weird as usual.
I hear Cindy Crawford's got a new butt and thigh workout.
Shut up, Troy.
An argument breaks out between the two, and
I don't know how it feels. You think you're the only person on earth who wakes up every morning wishing there was someone else?
that's the way it is with friends sometimes. I think John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats said it best.
People say friends don't destroy one another. What do they know about friends?
Now later, as Angus is tossing out some of the wedding decorations, April, this is the former girlfriend, I mean, she can't be a widow because they didn't officially get married, right? Whatever, she stops by with a box for Angus and... Oh no, I don't want to tear up again.
See, I did remember.
She really did love him. See, that made the interaction between the two earlier when he was worried about the time Grandpa was going to take his pills all the more touching and believable. As Angus opens the box, inside he discovers the plum suit from earlier that he hated, and he realizes that Grandpa must have went back and bought it for him sometime after. What a guy. This is getting way too emotional.
I look like Moby Grape.
Thank God some jokes are entering the picture again. His mother is now, if not encouraging, at least supporting his change in heart.
I can do this.
I know you can.
And his change in heart.
I can't do this.
Yes, you can.
Now, with the worst timing ever, as Angus is getting ready to leave for the ball, in walks his Jefferson recruiter, late to interview him due to... this fucking lawnmower in this traffic. Anyway, same reason. Traffic.
Traffic was bumper to bumper with every drooling, mouth-breathing bottom feeder from here to Minneapolis going to the football game.
So here Angus sits dressed to kill in his plum-colored tuxedo, being grilled on his academics, and when he reveals his big science project...
I'm hoping to prove that within every normal system, there exists an aberration, something different.
The chaos theory.
The Bethune theory.
He's met with less than enthusiasm at first. Continuing the hypothesis from earlier, the recruiter begins to take interest in his social and science experiment as Angus dramatically delivers his premise.
If the element can hold out long enough and face the torment of the system until the system's energy is depleted.
And ends with bravado.
And if this happens, it'll prove my fucking point.
What?
There is no normal.
Hell yeah, Angus.
Angus, where are you going?
To mutate.
Off to the dance we go.
Everybody got to walk straight.
Troy confronts him on the stairs on his way in, cowardly at that.
Angus, Rick's gonna do something to you. I know.
And don't make me feel less bad about your arm getting broke.
Screw you!
Wanna walk in together?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now inside, the dance is exactly what you'd expect, and Troy quickly abandons Angus as soon as the entire school starts staring at their prom king in his plum suit. So immediately, Rick's buddies start in on him as he passes Melissa over to her king, and just in time for their moment. Now to her credit, Melissa does seem to have genuine concern for Angus, and through her eyes is kind of trying to tell us that she's not happy about what Rick is doing.
Give her a chance to make a comparison. You know, let her decide what's more important, quality or quantity.
Rick.
The two head backstage where they receive their crowns, and Angus has his first real alone moment with her. She even has the first lines, which are not only comforting, I'd imagine, to Angus, but a big step in character direction for her, as it's the first time we've really seen her personal thoughts and feelings, instead of seeing her through Angus's or Rick's eyes.
I sweat whenever I get nervous. Don't you?
Oh, well, you know.
Together, they walk out and continue to find similarities in one another's character.
Please don't trip.
Don't trip, Melissa. Don't.
when one of Rick's goons flip a switch behind the curtains. And then, in front of the entire school body, Troy's tape of Angus dancing with Wanda is blasted out over every monitor and speaker within listening and viewing distance. All of Angus's personal feelings are on display for everyone to laugh at. Melissa runs out with this revelation, followed by Angus, who attempts to make right the wrong he thinks he's committed.
I was an idiot.
What a jerk.
But imagine his surprise when he finds out that she's upset with Rick and not him.
Not you. Him.
Here the two really form an honest connection as they reveal their deepest secrets to one another.
I'm bulimic.
Yeah, I know what that is. It's when you eat too much and you chuck it up, so you don't turn out to look like me.
Close enough.
Actually, I even tried it once.
And even in this serious moment, Angus attempts to make her laugh, which I have to applaud. It's not like we didn't expect them to get together by the end of this, it's in how well they executed it. They nailed it with this movie. Now back inside, the whole ordeal seems to be at the back of everyone's minds as the two courageously take their rightful place on the dance floor and have their moment anyway. Through gentle encouragement, Melissa even attempts to teach Angus how to properly dance, and damn, I was just getting used to Wanda's routine. The two really seem to be in the moment here, blissful and unaware to the judging eyes of their entire student body. Troy, even though he's still a little traitor, he's still supportive at least, and the dance carries on with no interruptions as Grandpa's words ring true in the back of all of our minds.
Screw 'em.
You're goddamn right. You take that, Rick, you fucking douchebag. Even if you are played by James Van Der Beek. Furious that his plan to humiliate Angus backfired, he confronts him and Melissa in anger, and the music stops as in front of everyone, Angus has a choice to make. Is Jefferson worth all this? This is what happens when you bully someone. They reach a breaking point, and Angus has certainly reached his as in front of everyone. He basically murders him with words.
I'll always be here. You push me down and I'll get right back up again, and again.
Rick's motivations to single Angus out do seem kind of stupid when you really think about it.
Because it's not normal. You're not normal.
Delivering yet another dramatic speech, Angus stands up for everyone who has once suffered at the hands of Rick, or someone like him, and delivering his final blow to Rick.
Are you normal? Or are you just one of us?
Whatever I am. Something you're never gonna be.
Thank God.
Angus begins to leave the dance with his crown atop his head when Melissa stops him for one more dance.
I want to dance it with you.
You don't understand. I can't.
Screw him, Angus.
He even invites Troy in to let bygones be bygones.
You want to spaz out with me on the dance floor?
Watch all the dildos.
Troy, we are those dildos.
But Troy has a little business first. The movie ends on a good note as Melissa asks him to walk her home after the dance, in contrast to what he thought would happen so many days ago as he fantasized about this moment in his head, never dreaming it would happen to him in a million years, yet here he is. She even gives him his first kiss, and damn, it feels so cool and genuine, earned and believable. I love it. I love this movie. I love its underdog message, that the unpopular can be popular, that popularity doesn't really matter anyway, even if you rise the ranks. And as we end, Angus narrates us through a bit more of his life as he recognizes what matters most and that maybe his grandfather knew more about life than we thought. Walking home in his crown and plum suit, we're left wondering along with Angus if this new relationship of his will sustain itself for long, but that's not what matters in the end. All that matters is one thing.
I'm still here.
Me too, Angus. I'm still here. I'm still watching this movie in 2019 and loving it as much as I did as a kid.